How's it going, guys? We have finally reached the point that I've been eyeing off this entire rally, which is the tether dominance. And that is the 1618. And we have tapped the area. And what I've done here, just so you guys can see, is for Bitcoin. Where is it? For Bitcoin, I've sold off at around 111,500-ish, right? And you can see the realized gains here. I've just left this a tiny bit open. I might re-add to this later, just so I can keep tally of the trade. I am completely open to reopening this position, but not anytime soon, because what I am looking for, and I'm not saying that this is going to reject straight away, because the market is sort of in a decent position whereby the altcoins are at key support levels or bouncing off key support levels at the moment. With, say, you can see this support area being held, and also the reason why I longed it at that area is because, let me get this to my fib. There's confluence with the golden pocket in this area as well, so along that region, and going to be watching for distribution to altcoins now, hopefully from Bitcoin. So I'm going to keep my altcoins open and close off my Bitcoin, securing some of that profit. Reason being is, if, for example, I'm correct about this and we reject from here, there's like very limited upside, and I'll explain how much further this can potentially go, in my opinion, before retracing to this one level. Let's say I'm correct in projecting that this goes up to around $125,000 or $126,000. That's 14% on $170-ish thousand size. It's like 20,000 or whatever, versus the potential 40,000 that I'll lose to the downside, and probably not worth it to gain an extra 20,000 when there is so much implied risk here. There's a high probability, in my opinion, that there is a retrace sometime soon. Is it immediate from here? The answer is, possibly not. We could actually see an extension beyond this region above the 1618 slightly before coming back down, which I've seen prior, right? There's an example, not there, but this is an example of it overextending. But I've seen measures within noise project out higher levels, like this, for example. The final move, the high and low before the final move, generally projects its own 1618, which goes beyond the actual 1618 level, but it's, it acts as a heap of support on the tether dominance chart, meaning inversely on the Bitcoin price action, it's going to go down once that support on tether dominance is found and pivoted from. So what to do now? It's just pretty much wait and see, and I've got my stops in place for the newer trades, which have, limited downside relative to what I just closed. And my Bitenta position is just going to remain open. I'm open to like riding this all the way down now. Like, there's no stress on my end. I do think that the market is still bullish, and once at some point we're going to continue going up, right? Like, this model could potentially break, and I'm happy with riding whatever I have currently all the way up or all the way down to this support level, should I be incorrect about this 1618. However, because the strike rate from my previous tests do suggest that we will get a retrace to 1 at some point in the near future, I will add to my positions once we get back to 1 and hold off from adding any new long exposure at this point moving forward. Anything in the long term anyways. But in terms of like how much longer we might have in this rally for everything, generally what I see from altcoins, and I'll just use BitTensor as an example, and I can use like literally any, I'll use NEAR as well, since these are the two things that I can easily reference. But these rallies usually end up being around 50 days, right, before they finish. This one's I'll start the rally here. It's around 50 days. This one's 50 days, 50 days. This one is 40 days. And this one is 45 days. So we're sort of within the time horizon of potentially topping out for alts, in my opinion. Well, it's more of a high risk time in terms of time in the rally. So the same can be said earlier, before BitTensor even existed, in NEAR's previous rallies, and it's reflective of like other altcoins as well, if I'm not mistaken. 50 days. Yep, this is like last cycle, right? 50 days and then 40% drop, right? And I believe like something like this, also 50 days, and I believe something like this is also around, well, that's 45 days, right? So 50 days, 45 days, and around 50 days as well within that region. So a lot of these pumps sort of have a time horizon when to get cautious, and now seems like the time, especially because we're at the high probability pivot point on tether dominance. Just be very careful. Don't let the hype around, oh my god, Bitcoin has just hit new all-time highs, fool you. I thought that there would be a larger grind up with more tether being minted, or just stables being minted. That hasn't been what has occurred, and I was saying that whatever the price ends up at this level, I would take some profit. That has happened. So just full transparency there, and whatever I let ride long term, like for the remainder of the year, I do think we'll see higher prices. But if you're swing trading, in the sense where you're like getting a big chunk of a decent move like this, you obviously want to take profit before a high probability downturn, before continuation. So if I'm wrong about this, so be it. I've got the rest of my exposure, as you've seen. If I'm right about this, there's opportunity to look for levels on Bitcoin or any of the other altcoins that you're interested in, to add some size for some better risk reward leading into the last phase of the cycle. As for S&P 500, we're back. Well, we're so close to the all-time highs, 3% below. We can see a gap here, and this could, coincide with what's happening with Bitcoin at the moment, where, we've obviously outpaced the S&P 500, but there could be some sort of pullback into this region, perhaps even lower, before we chop back up towards the end of the year, as you can see from where my cursor is, all the way at the bottom here, into October, and hitting my my target, not this one, the one that you see here, but my target of let's open it up here. My target of 6.3 to 6.4K into the end of the year. Maybe. We'll see. And should this, retrace occur all the way into like the July region, a push into the end of the year to that level might be on the cards before we see the bear market, and maybe Bitcoin ends up at that $150,000 region after that type of retrace at the end. So hopefully that gives you guys some insight on what I'm thinking. I'm not saying I'm correct, and nor should you follow me. This ain't financial advice. This is just my perspective of the market and how I'm currently trading it. In the meantime, are we going to see altcoins pop off? Perhaps. Like, we might see some Bitcoin rotations into altcoins, which is why I'm still holding them. I'm not saying that I know exactly what's going to happen, so it's, you know, technically a hedge for me to close my Bitcoin to hold on to some of those profits and work with them. And yeah, that's it. Cheers.